On June 9th, 2020, a woman and her friend were taking a stroll in their neighborhood when they noticed a man using chalk to stencil the words "Black Lives Matter" on the retaining wall outside a historic home. Having lived in the neighborhood for 15 years, the woman was familiar with the owner of the house and knew immediately that the man writing on the property was not him. She gently approached the man and inquired about the stenciling. He swung around with a phone camera in hand and proceeded to record the encounter. The video, which was later released widely on social media, painted the woman as a racist for simply questioning a Filipino man whom she did not recognize as the owner of the property. Within hours of the video being posted, a group of people triggered by the video arrived at the woman's home with baseball bats and other weapons in hand to intimidate and threaten her. Over the course of the following weeks, the woman was bombarded with hate mail, death threats, and ultimately was forced to close her business. Friends, while I wish I could say this is a fictional story I simply imagined, it is not. This is a story some of you may have seen on the news. It is the story of Lisa Alexander, a white woman in San Francisco, and the horrific price she paid for simply looking out for a neighbor. Lisa was canceled, plain and simple. No questions were asked, no explanation requested, no opportunity to dialogue. Cancel culture, as defined by the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, is the practice or tendency of engaging in mass canceling as a way of expressing disapproval and exerting social pressure. In canceling someone, the masses are encouraged to withdraw support from individuals or entities perceived to be objectionable due to their actions, behaviors, or beliefs. Accusations are made and reputations are shattered without proper investigation or the opportunity for the accused to defend themselves. This can lead to a culture of fear and self-censorship, where individuals hesitate to express their opinions for fear of being unjustly canceled. When we cancel another, we silence them. We do not engage in dialogue. We do not seek to understand. We do not attempt to help, to educate, to encourage teshuvah. It is for this reason that I argue that cancel culture does not align with Jewish values nor American values. It is dangerous, and if not stopped, will permanently fracture our fragile society. On this Erev Rosh HaShanah, I speak not about cancel culture and the dangers it poses, but rather I speak of cancel culture as a symptom of a much bigger problem we are facing as a society. As Rabbi Mark Eichenbaum writes, we live in an era of intense social discord and distrust. Countries, communities, and families are torn apart from political disagreements. The need to conform to the in-group has caused those with differing opinions to remain silent, afraid of cancellation or ostracization for uttering the wrong viewpoint. We have forgotten how to disagree and forgive, how to see the image of God in those different from us. We live in pain, isolated from those we love, and constantly forced to be on the defensive. It is not a pleasant place to be, and not a reality any of us hope to see continue. But how do we make change? How do we heal our world? How do we alter our perceptions of difference and choose positivity? We do so when we choose to come to the table. We do so when we listen to another's voice. We do so when we become seekers of peace rather than seekers of conflict and discord. In Numbers chapter 16, we learn of a confrontation between Moses and his cousin Korach. In this episode, Korach was angry with Moses for what he perceived to be unfair treatment and favoritism. While Korach had assumed he would inherit the priesthood, it was granted to Aaron instead. Korach reacted in rage, gathered a large group of Israelite rebels, and threatened Moses. While Moses could have easily reacted in defense and gone to war with Korach, he instead chose to invite Korach to the table. While Korach and his followers unfortunately declined the invitation to dialogue, our Talmudic sages applaud Moses for his effort. Moses was able to rise above his own anger at being threatened and invite his foes to the table. Rashi comments that from this episode between Moses and Korach, we derive that one should not persist in a dispute. Moses sought out Korach and his rebels to conciliate them with peaceful words. Our Jewish literature values and practices emphasize the importance of dialogue, of debate, of machloket l'shem shamayim, argument for the sake of heaven. Like Moses, we too must come to the table, take the difficult step towards reconciliation. On November 19th, 1977, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat landed in Israel for his first face-to-face meeting with Israel's Prime Minister Menachem Begin. Sadat, risking everything, knew the importance of peace, and he took the first step towards it when he came to the table with his Israeli counterpart. Barely 10 months after this initial visit, the two brave leaders signed the Camp David Accords, and still, 40 years later, a peace remains between Israel and Egypt. All because two people chose to sit at the same table, listen to one another, and seek peace. As some of you may know, this past June, I had the incredible honor of being part of a rabbinic delegation to the UAE, Bahrain, and Israel as guests of their respective governments. We were invited to celebrate the Abraham Accords of 2020, and it served as a historic visit as myself and 11 other North American rabbis represented the very first rabbinic delegation the UAE and Bahrain had ever hosted. Not only were we welcomed with open arms, with kindness and warmth by the leaders and locals alike, we were witness to the lived values of religious tolerance that both the UAE and Bahrain have instilled so intentionally in their cultures. In fact, in the UAE, we had the honor of meeting with Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, Minister of Tolerance, whose sole portfolio is to ensure that religious tolerance is central to the mission of the country and an everyday lived value. After visiting the UAE and Bahrain and having witnessed firsthand the possibilities and rewards which are a result of coming to the table, we made our way to Israel as guests of the foreign ministry in order to meet with members of Knesset and other influential leaders. A few days prior to arriving in Israel, our group received an email from the Israeli Foreign Ministry asking who we would like to meet with. We sat together over dinner in Abu Dhabi at a kosher restaurant, believe it or not, and we discussed who we hope to meet. After some back and forth, our group made a decision that I'm incredibly proud of. We made the decision to reply back and say that we would be happy to meet with any leader in Israel who no one else is willing to speak to. This bold statement made by a group of rabbis in the UAE celebrating the Abraham Accords, celebrating the hard work of those who came to the table, seemed like the only possible answer. Many of the meetings we eventually had in Israel, including the one with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, were difficult and contained stern recommendations and requests. We expressed our concerns about the situation in Israel, the increasing divide among people, and some of the dangerous positions of those in power. In these challenging meetings, we made it clear that we were there to share the concerns of the American Jewish communities we serve. We explained that we, members of the Zionist Rabbinic Coalition, an organization that both Rabbi Miller and I strongly support, were there to aid a country going through crisis and to assist them in whatever way we could, to ensure they are able to reach across the political divide and seek compromise. While a difficult decision, I'm very proud of the stance we took. We came to the table, sat with those who others had refused to talk to, and we modeled an ethic we hoped they would adopt. A few hours after meeting with Netanyahu, an official photo from our meeting was released by the Prime Minister's office. A well-known Israeli author commented that he was stunned that people are still willing to be in the same room with the Prime Minister. A member of our rabbinic delegation, Rabbi Scott Rowland, replied immediately saying, "It is certainly easier to be heard if you're at the table." I couldn't agree more with Rabbi Rowland's witty reply. We come to the table in order to be heard, in order to listen and be open to another's opinion, stance, and values. To listen vulnerably means that we listen with the knowledge that our mind could be changed by what we hear. Not that it must be changed, but that the possibility exists. All too often we say we are listening when all we are doing is planning our reply, using another's words to strengthen our own argument instead of truly listening with an open mind and open heart. In 2013, my father, Rabbi Brad Boxman, announced proudly from the Bima in Parkland, Florida, that he was a radical moderate. He explained that a radical moderate is one who reserves the right to change his or her mind. A radical moderate is one who freely admits that his or her view of any subject may be erroneous if proved otherwise. A radical moderate is one who recognizes that almost all issues, topics, or conflicts are multi-layered, often riddled with complexity, and contain many shades of gray. A radical moderate, he continued, is one who is not only willing, but is eager to listen to opinions that differ from one's own. A radical moderate is one who is tolerant and respectful of individuals, even if they espouse ideas that are radically opposed to what you believe in, as long as they adhere to the same principles of tolerance and respect. And finally, a radical moderate is one who will never demonize another person or group for their ideas or beliefs, no matter how vehemently one objects to their view. A radical moderate is, according to my father, a type of person we must all aim to be. One who can proudly and intelligently speak his or her mind and at the same time listen vulnerably to those who hold different positions. In coming to the table and choosing to listen openly, we take the first intentional step towards healing our world. However, only when we pursue peace do we truly have a chance in making change. From our Jewish texts, we understand that peace is not achieved passively. We do not simply pray for peace from the comfort of our homes and synagogue sanctuaries. As Jews, we pursue peace. We are instructed to be a rodef shalom, someone who runs after peace, who seeks peace even when it is elusive and complicated. Dr. Leonard Felder, author of the book We See It So Differently, writes that some people mistake the word peace or making peace as meaning you will need to be docile, passive, shutting up to avoid conflict, or keeping things superficial. But that's not what the word shalom means. It means wholeness or completeness. What Maimonides and many other Jewish scholars have taught us is that when we listen to a full diversity of viewpoints, we get beyond the surface level and we can go deeper into the whole picture. In order to truly learn to uncover the full range of innovative possibilities that we cannot possibly see on our own, we must engage in dialogue with those who differ from us. My husband, Asher, loves political debate, and he is known to mostly socialize with people who hold vastly different political standpoints. My sister once asked him why he doesn't just hang with those who agree with him, those who won't constantly challenge him. His reply to her is one I will never forget. He said, "Why would I want to only speak to people who agree with me? How am I supposed to learn and grow if I live in an echo chamber? How will I know if I'm wrong?" Yes, it is easier and in many ways comforting to surround ourselves with those who think like us, who hold similar opinions. However, like Asher so eloquently stated, what's the point? When we become so set in our ways, we close off our minds to possibility. We cancel others and their opinions. We shut down difference and shy away from dialogue. We do not grow. We do not progress. We stand still and further deteriorate our fragile society. I would like to close with a story of cancel culture that went in an opposite direction from the story I began with. It may have begun the same way, but ended differently, all because of one man's positive actions and his belief in the power of teshuvah. In March 2021, Miami Heat player Meyers Leonard uttered an anti-Semitic slur while live streaming on Twitch, a video game app. Even though he immediately issued a public apology to the Jewish community and admitted his ignorance, he was capital C canceled. Meyers was suspended from the Heat and was fined $50,000 by the NBA. In the following days, the Heat traded him to the Oklahoma City Thunder. However, he never got a chance to play for them. That one expletive turned his entire life upside down. While most people looked the other way, former NFL player and proud Jew Julian Edelman stepped in. He posted an open letter on Twitter explaining that he understood that Leonard likely spoke out of ignorance rather than hate, and that he welcomed the opportunity to speak about it. He even concluded his tweet with an open invitation to Shabbat dinner so they could talk. Edelman quite literally invited Meyers to the table to learn, dialogue, and engage in teshuvah. He offered him a path and even offered to guide him along it. In the months following, Leonard not only visited the Miami Beach Holocaust Memorial and studied with local rabbis, but also volunteered at the Miami JCC coaching Jewish youth. This, my friends, is an example of the values we must internalize, practice, and model for others. We, the Jewish people, have been charged with being an or legoyim, a light unto the nations. It is our duty to rise above, to come to the table, to listen with an open heart, and to perpetually seek peace. On this Rosh HaShanah Eve, I pray that each and every one of us is able to commit to a better way forward and to do our part. It is time to lift our heads, look towards the future, and do what needs to be done in order to heal our fractured society. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will.